the Bible in the background is kind of a power move. Now that I can see it. But
I haven't read it yet, so it's long. I mean, and it's the language is not very easy to understand. I need to get like a little contemporary Bible, normal language.
spoiler alert: the main character died at the end.
Oh no!
Oh,
I'm sorry.
but he
The
did
book is out
return.
with 2,000 views. All right, you should have read it before. Yeah.
Welcome everyone to episode 3 of the Unnamed Podcast. I am your host, Sean. We're just gonna call him Huey. Uh, and then we have someone new today, Nick from up north. We were just talking about.
Yeah,
Go ahead, you
I was
guys.
gonna say definitely Saigon. Like if you ask people in Hanoi about Saigon, they're like, "Oh yeah, it's nice. It's a good place to go on vacation. Wouldn't want to live there." If you
What?
ask people in Saigon about Hanoi, they're like liars, murderers, cheats. I hate, it's a very different vibe.
That's
Bro, like
that's
I
just a
used to
joke,
live in
everyone.
Saigon.
That's only a joke.
Yeah, just a joke. But I used to live in Saigon, and like when people would hear me speak with a northern accent, the way they would treat me was so terribly. And even before I moved to Vietnam, right, I was like practicing a little bit of Vietnamese, and I'd go to like these Vietnamese grocery stores to like just kind of fuck around and like buy bananas and test out my Vietnamese. And like the fact that I was speaking northern accent was not cool with them at all. They were just like, "No, you got to speak the other way." I was like, "Okay, I'll see what I can do with that." And I'm just gonna let them be.
Yeah,
Well, how good is your
when
Vietnamese? Like,
Yeah, when I hear like a Westerner speaking in a northern accent here, uh, and if they're from here, it usually means that they only take uh classes. They've never actually used the colloquial like day-to-day thing, you know? So that's the only prejudice I have with that. It's just like if you truly practice it, then you're gonna talk in that twang and that kind of like that
I
southern
think
accent,
if you live there and if you speak
Right.
Vietnamese, you're going to learn Southern Vietnamese. Even whenever I lived there for a while, I started picking up the Southern style.
Yeah,
And
Hui,
when I
what
came
you
back
want
to,
to say? Hui, you were about to say something?
oh, is it like
no,
if you oh go ahead, Huey. Sorry.
don't worry. I would just I would just saying that I wonder why when most foreigner learn Vietnamese they pick the northern accent, or they picked it at all, or it's just like something that they teach by default within the northern accent when they teach foreigner Vietnamese language because it's considered the standard one is what people speak in the capital. But
That's a good question. I would imagine like Pimsleur and some of the more famous language apps are in northern accent. I know Duolingo is. But then there are a few like Vietnamese with Annie and stuff like that. There's a few YouTubers that do Southern accent, but most of them I imagine are Northern accent. King Viet is a lot of Northern accent.
Yeah,
Yeah, so even the news, let's say when I was growing up, it's almost always exclusively with the northern accent on the news. Yeah. But like when I was in my early 20s, I'm sorry, my 18 or 17-year old, they started to introduce like one or two tokens such as an accent person on the news, and now it's become like more of a 50-50 situation. And the argument that the capital accent is supposed to be the standard is not that convincing because like, we used to be the capital. I mean not capital, but like we're like a big hub as well. So I don't think it has to be like a but I do agree that the northern accent sounds a little bit more distinguishable with the certain consonant. It sounds more distinct and it sounds more phonetic if you're trying to learn a language. So I'll give them that, and it sounds better on the news, honestly. So I don't mind that particularly. But so I was wondering how good do you think how good is your Vietnamese actually like on a scale from 1 to 10? I imagine it'd be probably better
That's
than most.
such a subjective scale. I'd say like five.
Yeah, five is better than most people learning it. Like definitely
Yeah, I mean I've been here for a long. For somebody who's been here for 9 years, it's terrible.
9
For
years.
for a Westerner, it's amazing. So Yeah, it just depends. Like, it's kind of strange too, because like there was like COVID happened, right? And that was this weird break because prior to COVID, most of the foreigners here hadn't been here for very long. A lot of them were tourists. After COVID, almost all the foreigners you met in Vietnam had been here for a long time, were kind of like long haulers, weren't planning on leaving. Many of them know Vietnamese. So it was like before COVID, it was like no foreigners knew Vietnamese. All of them are just kind of like for a few months, a couple years, something like that. And then after COVID, it's like, yeah, I've been here for 6 years. I speak Vietnamese. I got a family, stuff like that.
I I always find very impressive when a non-Vietnamese person speak Vietnamese. Because, for example, if I go to like England, for example, and I speak English, like nobody cares, right? And of course, but like if like a random Korean B7 like starts speaking to me in Vietnamese, I'd be very impressed because the language is not particularly easy to learn, and there's no huge incentive to learn it because you don't really need to speak Vietnamese to get around here at all. So every time we speak to me, I say, "Oh, yeah, he or she like put in the work."
Yeah, I do that. Yeah, that's yeah, definitely in the United States, they're like, you need to speak it with an American accent. They're like, even if you have an accent, they're a little bit dickish about it in the US. Um, versus here you say like Xin Chao and they're like, oh my gosh, you speak such great Vietnamese. And you're like, I just said hello. Like I just said my name. Yeah, it's a very low bar.
Very forgiving and encouraging. Yeah, it's a low bar, yeah. But people love it when they hear their own language from another person and another culture's mouth. So, but I digress. So, Sean, you want to tell us about who is in your background this time?
Oh, who's in the background? I just I saw some guy shirtless because it's so hot, so I thought it fit in with the current state of this heat wave we're having. But Nick, you know this movie, don't you?
It looks familiar. I mean, it's obviously like on a ship. Uh, the island.
I never heard of that. No, it's Lieutenant Dan.
Is the what?
Lieutenant Dan. I'm trying to do the Southern Alabama.
Is that Polly Shore?
No. It's from Forrest Gump.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I've
the shrimp guy, right?
The shrimp guy. So this is
yeah, Tom Hanks.
Lieutenant Dan after the war. He was amputated. And this is him on the shrimp boat.
Okay. I haven't seen that movie in forever.
No, that I just watched that movie again, and it's just like you have different perspective when you're older compared to as a kid. Like when I watched the movie the first time, I was like, wow, this is a cool movie. And then when I watch it again, I'm like, that damn bitch. Uh, there's a girl in the movie, like the love of his life. His name is Jenny. So basically, she just gets ran through, uh, like a Black Panthers ran a train on her. She was like getting ran through in Hollywood. Like,
Was that part of the story? Is the
no,
Black
that
Panthers
was the full movie. Like,
okay.
yeah, and then at the very end, she comes back and she's like, can I marry you now?" I'm like,
I have age now, by the way.
hey, don't spoil it
yeah.
for the movie. Hey, that's a spoiler.
Well, that's part of the meme, right? I've seen the meme goes around like, "Bye, Forrest, I'll be back when I'm a single mother with AIDS," something like that.
And now you're a billionaire. Now I want you back.
Yeah, exactly.
So
by the way, now for 20 years. So if you haven't seen it by now, don't complain about spoiler. It's been now for 20 years.
we like if you watch this movie, it's like a good movie to watch. Like you could stop and you can restart it because like there's like cutscenes and flashbacks. But
I saw the movie, but it was quite a long time ago. I don't think I remember that much, but the main plot point I do remember, and I happen to enjoy the actor who played Jenny a lot actually. So she reappeared in House of Cards as the Claire Underwood. She's a very good actor professionally. I think so. But I don't even think she was a highlight of the movie necessarily. She appeared a little bit at the beginning and then at the end, but somehow she got meme to the ground with that one thing that she did. Okay, she get run through by a bunch of hippie
More like
dudes.
200 things. But anyway.
Yeah, it's the only thing that she's known in this movie.
Hey Nick,
Yeah.
I gotta ask you, bro. When did you come back home?
When did I shave my hair?
Yeah, dude. I was like, this is new, dude. Cause like
No, it's been
when
like
I
this
see another
forever. I almost
bald
always wear
fellow,
a
I'm
hat.
just like, I gotta say what's up live in person, even if I don't know the guy.
I mean, yeah, like I've been bald for a while. I just kind of
Really?
I'm doing a minoxidil. I don't know if it's working or not. We'll see.
Minoxidil. Yeah, I've heard of it. I got another friend who are dealing with the hair falling out, and he's doing that as well, and it seems to work pretty well for him personally. But I don't know if it works for everybody.
Definitely something you want to start as soon as possible, rather than waiting till your hair is already gone. Yeah, I'm not too worried about. It's actually really easy to shave your head, and then you don't have to think about it at all. You don't worry about it. Not very attractive in Vietnam, but whatever. It's
I
like
mean, it's pretty practical with the weather here, so I'll say go for it.
yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like things that aren't attractive in Vietnam that are attractive elsewhere, like any facial hair, for example. Yeah, I mean you have a little stubble, and that's pretty acceptable. But if you were to grow out a full beard, you would look pretty
No,
weird
yeah,
in
yeah,
Vietnam, and like girls would be afraid of you. Um, yeah, I think part
not
of it's
afraid, but
well, I think part of it is a lot of times, like in movies, the villains have beards or facial hair or something like that, and I think that kind of lends to this perception that like a beard is bad or evil, scary looking, something like that.
I think it is a general sentiment, yes, but is that true for the hair thing also? You think that having less hair is like not popular here particularly, or
Oh yeah, yeah.
but
I mean,
I
well,
thought it
I think
was
I think part of it is like Vietnamese people generally have pretty good genes when it comes to like hair. They generally have really
okay.
nice full heads of hair. You exclude, but it's generally speaking like there's not very many bald Vietnamese guys compared to like Westerners.
I
Um,
mean, there's one right here, so,
yeah, but he's an exception. No offense, but I
yeah, but
definitely
I
see.
see what you mean.
I definitely see like it's Vietnamese girls like guys with nice heads of hair. But I think that's common around the world as
The only thing I want to add is that I think the hair thing is pretty universal. It's not just a Vietnamese thing. I'm pretty sure you ask the same question to women, like everyone in the world, they would say the same thing, right? It's not just a Vietnamese thing.
that's probably true, but I imagine in other countries it's a little bit more common.
Oh, okay, okay. Uh, honestly, I would encourage everybody who's noticing their hair is falling out to just shave it and own it. And honestly, as a man, you look much be better completely shaven than look like it's going out. It's the uncanny valley spot in the middle that put people off. Like if you have some hair, let it grow. If you feel like it's going away, shave it all off. You look way better that way. So
Yeah.
I
Oh
can
yeah,
I can't I can't imagine how Vin Diesel would look like with hair right now because we're so used to him with hair, for example. So if you can rock it, rock it. But I
yeah.
think we digress for too long.
I would say, well, why do you want to hold on to something that's just gonna leave you anyway? Just shave it off.
Yeah.
And we just we have a saying, just come on home. You know, just come on home. I'm gonna give you a razor. It's time to come on home. Anyway.
And honestly, I think most men are a lot more conscious about hair than they think people are of their hair. Honestly, if you're a guy and you take care of everything else, you go well groomed, you are in shape, nobody will notice your hair. Like honestly, like, oh, that's a good looking guy who are in shape. Like you would not notice that he's bald until he mentioned it like verbatimly. So it's not that big of a deal. As an aspect of a deal that people think of themselves that it turns out to be, if that makes sense. But I do agree that it's probably less of an issue in Asia in general. So they have more hair going on. So it's probably why they like bald considered to be less common. So people are a bit more reactive about that, which is unfortunate. Sorry, what are you saying or something?
I was gonna say about one time a year I will grow out like either a beard or a goatee, and I look completely different and very, very I'd say dangerous almost. Like I just look much more intense.
Okay.
If I have like a goatee little or a whole goatee or a little patch right here, I just look much more a little bit older and a little bit more
Watch away.
Yeah, something like that.
Scary.
Mm-hmm.
We were just talking about, why we have shaved heads, and the easiest reason that I give is just like it's hot. And since it is, speaking of hot, let's just go into our first topic of the day that's on the docket. Here's an article from VN Express, and the cutting down of many trees has exacerbated this heat wave we're having. And since Nick, you brought us this topic, why don't you share your thoughts on this?
I mean, I think it's really common sense, right? Concrete is going to absorb the sun. It's going to absorb heat. Whenever you cut down trees and make more concrete, it's going to be hotter. And it's one of the reasons why every city is hotter than the surrounding area. I mean, it's a well-known fact. I mean, it's just one of those things you have to plan for, and you have to mitigate, right? You have to plant more trees, and that's the simple solution. It's not kind of rocket science. Unfortunately, trees are often overlooked when it comes to development. I think that's what's happened in a lot of cities, not just in Asia, Vietnam, but around the world. And hopefully, kind of people's thinking will catch up and begin to realize that trees are important, and take care of them, plant more of them, and make sure their roots have room to spread. And seeing it not simply as like this kind of nice thing to have, but more as a necessity. And that way you don't end up with a city that's 100% concrete, like Calcutta, and a place where you would want to live and where you can, but you want to have a city where people want to live in, people want to move to. You don't want to have a city where people are there just because it's where their work is. And especially nowadays, right, with digital technology, like people won't live in your city if it's shitty. Like they'll just either find a job in a different city or they'll do remote work. They'll live somewhere else. So if you really do want that tax base, then you have to have a livable locale.
So just to add to that, last year was the hottest recorded year on record, I think, globally. Huey, what do you think about this?
So when Nick mentioned that in the technological age, we can pretty much live anywhere and make money on the computer, they can be very flexible about where they live. And if you have a city environment where it's really hot, like it can be in Hanoi, Saigon these days, it's going to be way less attractive to people to live in. And I never thought of it that way, but now that I do, why do I still live in Saigon? I work from home all day, every day anyway, so I can totally go to the lot and spend like a year there without having to worry about this heat. So of course I'm still staying for the social connection. Everyone I know is here, so but it's really bad, and it's not that bad. Like Sean said, it was the hottest year on record last year, right? I think it's gonna be this year next. So it's getting really bad. So without an AC, nobody can handle the heat. And that reminds me of the Japanese solution, the way that the Japanese handled the same issue. So collectively, about once a week, or maybe once a day, like the mayor of like a hot city, they would tell every citizen to go to front of the house and splash water on the street. Every single household will
Really?
splash water, yeah, on the street. And apparently, it cools down the city by from anywhere between 2 to 4 degrees Celsius because everyone do that collectively. Again, the key is
Oh,
collectively. And I wonder if that's something that we can copy and do here in Saigon. And it takes so little effort anyway. And everybody, I noticed that a lot of houses are spraying water in front of their house like right now anyway, but it's not like a collective effort. I wonder if that helps. But of course, the long-term solution is like Nick said, we do need more tree and less concrete, which is just a shame that yeah that's what I was talking about. It has a name, Uchi Mitsu. They beat the heat using just water. And I bet they have more tree there, but that I bet that will also help. And the thing about tree is that I think right before COVID, there was a project on like a big street in Saigon. I forgot the name, but where they removed a lot of big like 30-year-old tree that were planted like in the 60s or 70s a long time ago. And now that they become massive and they're interfering with the infrastructure a little bit, so they're removing all those trees for a certain project, and people got really mad. But like it got done anyway, so now we have even less tree, and the population density in Saigon they keep increasing every single year. Right now it's about 12 million more or less. Trees is not growing more, and the city expanding, so there's more concrete. So I don't see the problem going away anytime soon. Honestly, I don't think it's going away anytime soon. So it's gonna keep being this hot every single year, and I don't think anything is going to change the current trajectory. Like and and getting a vehicle is essential to survival here. So the default job for anyone's getting here that I've noticed is to become a delivery driver or grab driver, which is add an extra layer of pressure on the traffic system and the amount of heat being produced. So I'm not being pessimistic, but I'm honestly thinking this is not getting any better anytime soon because people have even more incentive to move in and to have less street and more concrete because people are not moving out, they're only moving in. So is that just me or is that your experience too?
right. So I was looking at that photo and it just reminded me of people spraying water here in the city, but they mainly do it just because there's so much dust in front of their house. But that's a very interesting idea of having like a community cool down, if you want to call it that, you know. So the Japanese, they're very industrial and they have like a kind of like a all for one kind of mindset. So
They are good
very interesting.
followers. Yeah. It was for the collective good, they are very good follower, and which you can argue it can be a bad thing in a certain situation, but in this situation they work as a team and they do that very well. They're very disciplined about it too. And a lot of people are doing it, yeah, like you said, yeah, probably to just like tone down the dust so when car goes around they don't stir up the dust, but it happens to cool down the streets significantly as well. So yeah, got the heat. So I think my power bill is about 2.5 last month because we cannot do anything. Like my brother also work from home, my sister also work from home, and they all have 3 rooms, and we all share the same house. So it's 3 room, blasting the AC pretty much 20 hours a day. So yeah, I think the bill is 2.5 last month. And by the way, I'm paying the bill for the whole house, so that's not good. But there's no alternative. That's the one downside for working from home. You have to carry that yourself. It's not optional. And I try to have it off and open the door for circulation, and and I bring in a lot of dust. So it's really a bad combination. You go outside, you deal with the dust. You stay in, you deal with the power bill. So yeah, I don't know why I'm so putting up with this. Like Da Nang is so much more livable. So I spent 2 weeks in Da Nang, and I love it. Everything is about Da Nang is better than Saigon, other than the fact that I don't know anyone there. So other than that, are you particularly in love with Saigon, Sean, or are you just here because of work? The same as I do.
Yeah, speaking of Da Nang, that's one of my hometowns, so I have nothing but good things to say about it. But Nick, do you have any inputs? Last words?
I mean, it's a good city. I mean, I can tell you good things or bad things. There's not many bad things about it, but I would say maybe the only thing I didn't like about Da Nang was it seemed very provincial. Like people from Da Nang, they don't really travel as much. They're not as international. The expats there to just stick to that one area, and
Yeah,
they're
you have a saying, right? Why travel the world if you have a beach? But go ahead.
well, yeah, but it's just like if you go to that one part of Da Nang, it's just like kind of skeezy, drunk expats. It's not a very fun scene for me. But otherwise, it's a beautiful city, right? It kind of has the best of all worlds. You have the mountains, the ocean, the city, the forest. So it's just a really nice place to be. The food's great. Uh, you have the beach. I lived in Da Nang for a few months, and I would really enjoy like going for a jog at like noon and then going swimming in the ocean at 1 p.m. Nobody there. Of course, Vietnamese people want to keep their skin nice and white. So you're the only person like on this mile stretch of perfect beach. It's just really nice city.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Since we were mentioning about the communal Japanese watering cool down of the city, I thought it'd be a good segue since we're talking about foreigners. This next article about pineapples.
Oh yeah.
We're talking about pizza now.
No, pineapples. I guess this was big on social media that some tourists in Hanoi were charged
Yes.
3 pineapples for 500,000 Vietnam dong, which is give or take what, like $20? When it
About
should,
$20, yeah.
yeah, when they should be only about $2 a pineapple.
I mean, it should be less than that. It should be about 50K for 3 pineapples. So she
Oh,
charged
50K,
about
you're
10.
right. Wow, yeah. I misread. Yeah, it's 50K. So it'd be $2 for 3 pineapples versus $20 here, right? So what do you guys' thought on this?
I
You want
mean,
to go first, Nick?
Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
uh,
You're from here.
I mean, I'll just say, it's really bad whenever if you're a Vietnamese person and you get into like a little scuffle with some foreigners and all the Vietnamese people around you side with the foreigners, you're in the wrong because that almost never happens. I saw the video and like the crowd was not taking the Vietnamese woman's side, which normally you would expect to happen. That's the way it is. But in this case, like here's this foreigner being quite unruly, like shouting, which also doesn't happen too much in Vietnam. But all the crowd was just like, "Yo, this lady's kind of in the right. You need to give her money back." Um, yeah, I mean it's a hustle, right? Like the vendors near Bui Vien and Cat Hien are very rapacious. They're going to try to rip people off. It's just what it is. They have those little like bang zan, the little like fried dough balls. I don't think I've ever seen a Vietnamese person buy one of those. It's always sold to like foreigners. Um, it's just what it is. You're gonna get that in any tourist spot, right? You go to Thailand, you go to Cambodia, you go to anywhere. You're gonna have people trying to like charge you insane prices for shit that doesn't cost too much. Um, it was just like I think in this situation it got recorded. something like that probably happens every single day. This case, like the tourist wasn't taking it. They weren't going to shrug their shoulders and say, okay. And somebody nearby had a phone, and it is what it is. Like I respect the vendor. If she it's her prerogative to try to charge whatever she wants for a pineapple. She could try to charge $500 for all I care. If she can make it happen, good for her. But at the same time, like, I wouldn't really expect people to buy that or to be happy to find out that how much they paid. When they learn what that actually means, because people come to Vietnam and 500,000, that's such a large number. You don't really realize how much that is, and you don't make that distinction between 50,000 and 500,000. It's just lots of zeros. If you come from a place where the denomination is like 2 or 20, to go to 50,000 to 500,000, it kind of boggles your mind. You're not sure how to process it when somebody says, hey, it's 500,000 for this pineapple. You're just like, oh.
I was gonna say that. It's like, damn, this is a nice, like, intellectually big-headed.
That is as a background can get. It's like the default background for everyone is interviewing candidate online. It's a bookshelf.
Yeah, I'll move some books though.
No, like, yeah, just bring it. Like, hey,
that's the one.
You guys, hey, did you guys hear about there's like this Chinese? I know we all, it's easy to pick on the Chinese because we're Vietnamese, but like, there's like this museum library where like their whole shelf is just like fake books. It's just wallpapered in.
I believe that. Isn't that like kind of a trend now in China? Is like these really extravagant, crazy looking bookstores?
No, they always, there's a lot of fronts. So bookstores one, and they've been spray painting the countryside green. So instead of having all dead grass, brown and orange, they spray paint the countryside green as well. So
we were kind of talking about cities and temperatures and stuff like that, and I kind of wonder, this kind of veers slightly into conspiracy land, but I kind of wonder to what degree like climate change and global warming and stuff like that is just a function of taking temperatures of places where there's a lot of concrete and be like, oh my God, it's so much hotter than it was 50 years ago. And it's like, yeah, because if you take the temperature on an airport tarmac, of course it's going to be 115 degrees. Like, I don't know. I kind of wonder to what degree, whenever they do these like temperature model kind of bullshit, to what degree is like, oh, now we're taking temperatures in this urban environment, whereas before we were taking temperatures on a grassy hill, or something of that extent, or it's like we have plastic fake grass instead of real grass, and kind of what the effect of the temperatures that could be.
If that's the case, that would be a lot of work just to make the data looks right. So that's a lot of work because they live in the city too, But yeah, like spraying the ground green just to make it look more countryside, make it look more green. Literally just spray paint. It's such a Chinese thing to do. Like, what the fuck? I didn't know that, by the way, but now, yeah, it sounds something that they would do. They face the Eiffel Tower. They fake Naples. I wouldn't be surprised if they fake the green grass as well.
They spray paint the pineapples a certain color. That'd be a good upsell to get to 10 times 10 times the price. But anyway, you wanna, and
by the way,
you wanna share? Go ahead.
When I read the pineapple story, I didn't even honestly, there's not much meat there to begin with, because vendor overcharge tourists, big fucking deal, whoopity whoop, is like every single day, right? So it's not much of an information there. The only thing I wanted to ask you guys is that, why are these two lady put themselves this information to begin with? So apparently, legally speaking, she can charge as much as she wants, right? She can put on a price that I want $5 million, I want $50 billion for these two pineapple. Anything she wants. It's just a matter of whether she can sell it or not. So apparently, according to the story, the 500,000 already in the vendor's hand. And upon learning about the price, those two lady want the money back. So I wonder what happened beforehand. So did she ask for 500,000, and then the other two tourists didn't know how much that was, and she gave to her, and then realized it was a lot, it was $20, and then asked for it back? Or did the other lady ask for 50,000 and then took the 500,000 and then didn't want to give them the change, or this is out of hand? Like, I feel the context matter in this situation. Like, how did she has a hold on the 500,000 bill to begin with for the other two ladies to ask for a refund? So what's the context here, which is not mentioned? I checked.
I'll read directly from the article. It just said that they will charge verbatim. They will charge an excess amount of 500,000, which they protested vehemently and demanded a refund from the vendor.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
If they really want to protest that, don't give her the 500,000. Why would they give her that? Like, let's say, all right, I'm being charged. No, I don't agree with charge. So here's your shit back. So go. Why would the video happen? So there has to be something happening before that. Again, I don't know the context, but I think those two ladies handled a little bit like incorrectly if they give her the money first. But if the lady just yank it out of their hand, or maybe the lady asked for 50,000 and then change it after the fact, the lady, that's not overcharging, that's theft. If you say something and then you say something afterward, but by the way, I don't wish this to happen, but if it does, I'll be glad, because if the video resort to some violence between those two ladies with the vendor, I'll be down with that. So it's something about
pineapples at each other.
Yeah, it's something about like women fighting in public. It's so entertaining for me to watch. Like when female fighting each other, they never like end up getting like seriously injured or anything like that. So it's gonna be like whatever, it's fine. So it's really entertaining to watch, and it happens on Bolivian like once in a while, and I'll always be there for that.
You're going.
But yeah, again, I just want to express my wonder over the fact that how does the vendor get her hold on the bill to begin with? So I don't know the context, but
Go ahead, Nick. Any final?
Speaking of women fighting, I was gonna say, have you ever seen like women UFC or something like that? It's so brutal because they just beat on each other so much, but they don't really take any damage because they're
I know, yeah, but
weight behind those punches.
Two professional female fighters, yeah, they can induce serious damage to each other. But I'm talking about like two random girl having a cat on the street. It's just so fun to watch, and they don't do any serious damage to each other anyway. So it's so fun.
And but in that situation, I'm not sure what happened with the pineapple and how the vendor got her hands on the 500K.
Yeah,
it's hard to say. I mean, it was definitely a situation where it was like had like a rapacious vendor and a slightly unruly tourist. Definitely an interesting situation. I'm not sure how it got resolved. I wonder if in Vietnam it might be a law about overcharging, like price regulations. I know the government tries to keep the prices of some items low, like pork and stuff like that, kind of artificially suppressing prices. I don't know if they do the same thing for everything, or if they would get in trouble for overcharging on a pineapple. I imagine if you make the wrong person mad, you get in trouble for just about anything.
Right. So
at the street vendor, I doubt that they control the price like that. But yeah, then again, if somebody charged me, I can just say no. And this lady could have said no, but the bill is already in her hand. So something happened before that, which I don't know. So I can't really judge the situation, whether it was fault.
What would you do in that situation? Say you go to a market and you wanted to buy something, and just say something silly like, I don't know, tomatoes. And the lady like tells you the price, and you know that it's about 3 times as high as it should be. What's your next move in that situation?
I just say no. It's a fair trade. You are entitled to say your price anyway you want. Okay, you want that much? I'm gonna go with the look. I'm a very spiteful person when it comes to that, so I'll just say respectfully say no, and then I'll go out of my way to buy literally their competitor like next door, and I'll make sure she sees that. I'll buy more than I normally would buy, and I'm willing to pay, let's say, 20% extra than market price to just buy the other one. I would do that. But it's a free market. You are free to charge, but I'm free to say no. So that's all what I would do. But if you take my money first and then change the price afterward, that would just be that, and then I would be authorized to forcefully take back my bill within my right.
Right. So I guess I would say pro tip, never hand. I mean, I do this myself now too. I never hand them a large bill. Whatever the agreed upon price, 50,000, I hand them a 50, maybe 100, and then get my change back. Pro tip. Yeah, even as a person who's lived here nearly a decade. But just on a wider scale or scope of this, is like even the locals understand this. Locals, Vietnamese, we're in the middle of a long weekend, holiday weekend, and people know, like, hey, if I'm going to the ocean to get seafood, I'm going to get overcharged, right? So everybody knows about this, and I agree with Huey. Like, the market is the market, the marketplace of exchange. Like, you're literally at a market, and so just in terms of human to human relationship, it's like you have the right to charge whatever you want, and the other person has the right to say no.
Totally.
But to give the steelman argument, there's probably a law, but I don't know. But let's just say if there wasn't a law, the steelman argument for not letting people overcharge tourists is bad. It's a bad image for Vietnam. And if you're looking at it from the tourism department or ministry, there, you don't want people going back to Europe, America, talking about, I got overcharged 10 times. If you go to Thailand or other places, I don't know if it's as prevalent as Vietnam, but if it's a better image over in Thailand, people would rather go there than come here. And so, Vietnam has a great tourism base, but if you just think about it in macro terms, it would behoove them to kind of regulate these sort of shady shenanigans. Any last thoughts?
I can see that, but I think there's so many factors for why the tourism in Vietnam suffers. And I think that's an easy kind of like pass the buck, blame the poor old street vendor for this problem, when in reality there's a lot of factors, and there's a lot bigger people responsible for the issue than little Luan selling pineapples for 500K to doing that twice a day or something like that.
That sort. Let's move on to the next thing on the docket, which is about Vingroup.
Are we going to talk about this?
Yeah, we'll talk about this, sure, because this is on the newspaper, and it goes into a little bit about why VinFast is struggling. Even the chairman of Vingroup admits this, and he's saying that he will never let go of VinFast. He's putting in his own personal wealth in the form of a loan, as well as giving it outright. And so, Nick, you brought this up. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, good luck to him, I guess. Businesses fail all the time. Like, how many businesses? I mean, even stuff that Elon Musk has started has failed, right? Like, there's plenty of businesses that Elon Musk that just didn't go anywhere. I would say, like, probably, I'm not a business expert, but I've always heard the advice: don't become too ego attached to your business, right? You don't want to. Business is the business. You are you. Whenever you start kind of conflating the two, become really attached and start making bets on a business that might not be too wise. personally, I'm not a big fan of cars anyways. I'd like to see there be less cars in Vietnam, not more. So I think the whole concept seems a little bit off to me. It seems like the whole reason why people usually buy a car is often an ego thing. If you really wanted just like a way to get around that was keeping you out of the rain, you'd get like a little Yaris or a New Morning or something like that. You wouldn't be getting like a Land Rover. Um, and I kind of feel like that's the same reason this guy is so attached to vinfast. It's like, oh, I have a car company. So he can say like, I make cars, which I understand. Like you want to be able to say like, I do this really cool thing that I feel important, like I feel has meaning, is important, and like brings prestige not only myself but also my country. But it could be misguided. It could be a losing bet. And from what I've read elsewhere, it sounds like vinfast is basically bleeding money. Um, and the only reason that it's still operable today is because they're selling cars to themselves. Uh, they're selling cars to their taxi company and to their real estate company. And like
True.
very few people are buying these cars. I've always wondered like how do most cars in Vietnam get bought and sold? Because the per capita GDP here is like what, $15,000. To buy a car here, it costs like 40, 50, $60,000. So to me, like the math doesn't
Lower
really
end.
add up. Yeah, the math simply doesn't add up. Like, are people basically mortgaging their homes to buy a car, which would be a terrible idea? Are people taking out exorbitant bank loans to buy a car, which is probably what's happening? Is it like, is it kind of like envelope money that's getting like a lot of these cars bought? I don't know for sure, but it seems like I would imagine it's kind of like based on a foundation of debt, which is never a good way to finance a big portion of your economy into a sector that you want to grow as well. So who knows? I mean, I imagine the only way that vinfast will survive is if they make it illegal to drive a motorbike, and then you're basically forcing people to spend ridiculous amounts of money on cars. And even in that case, I imagine most people will buy a Yaris if they have a choice between buying like a car twice as big that won't fit into their house and a Yaris which will. It seems pretty obvious at least which one I would pick if I had to buy a car in India. One other thing I want to say, I know like the first generation of vinfast cars were absolute shit. Like I remember going and looking at them, and like the side panels would be wavy and like everything wouldn't line up perfectly. This was their year one though. I'm sure they've improved by then, but from what I understand, like they're not really selling abroad. They're selling in Vietnam, but mostly to other Bean Group companies, which is very weird and sketchy at the same time. It's like if I opened a restaurant and somehow was able to sell all the food to my family and be like, oh, I'm succeeding. It's like, no, you're not. You don't, you've kind of extorted your family into buying your own food. And it's just this kind of circular money shuffling going around without any money being made.
Right. So just quick note. Tesla had these issues when they first came out, and I think that Tesla is the most successful company. So, and also like they had what I mean by issues, like they had quality issue. People were still complaining about, crickety doors and quality issue. But Tesla now, like my sister just bought a Model Y. It's amazing. I think it's the best car ever made. They finally broke through and became profitable in the recent year. So just to give a Steelman, VinFast, they're a new company. They're bound to hit the wall of quality issue, distribution, supply chain, et cetera, et cetera. But that's a little bit in defense of VinFast. How about you, Huey? What do you think?
I think I share the same sentiment with Nick, is that I couldn't care less for cars, especially in Saigon. And I so I'm not sure about whether the most people buying car for ego. I'm sure some people do, but like honestly, living in Saigon, I've seen some situation where I think having a car is pretty much virtually a necessity. So my brother has two kids, and taking both of them and his wife on the way to work, the car is pretty mandatory. But other than that, I do notice that a lot of people like taking out a loan just to buy a car. That seems very nonsensical to me. And you by yourself, you're driving like 5 kilometers at 4 p.m., which take you 45 minutes, and you're taking out a loan for that. So that's probably an ego thing. And also, I can read the owner's mind, Mr. Boom's mind. So I don't know whether he's doing it because he just want to his motive behind keeping the company alive. I can't read his mind, but I I I hope it turns out well for him because I still want it to become a thing. I hope it becomes successful. More option for the market is always better for consumer, right? So I can't attest for what the reason why he's doing it, but I can definitely attest that like public relation is not going well for VinFast at the moment. Meaning most people who own a VinFast or trying to in the market for a car, they definitely don't have a good perception of the quality at the moment. They have a lot of issue that are expressed excessively online by their user all over the internet. And also, yeah, then like Nick said, they sold a lot of them to themselves as well. And if you work in the Vinfast subsidiary, you receive significant discount, like an employee discount. You don't even have to work for Vinfast. You only need to work for like a subsidiary, and then you get like a Vinfast car for a discount. And then you can park on the premise for free, like free parking every single month. You have own like a Vin car, and yeah, so that's probably explain 80% of the sale. And if you can sell them to the international market, then it's not like a good sign. And also, I can't speak for Tesla. They probably do well, obviously, but I feel like in general people are not that crazy about EV. Is that just me? Like they're still not as reliable as a good old traditional diesel car. They're not even close. Like, even the best of the best EV is not like has that range compared to like a good traditional diesel car, like a long range drive, a gas station where you can reliably refill as well. And also, I'm not sure about you guys, but I'm very icky about like unnecessarily putting technology into like everything. So with the gas car, right, it has GPS and maybe like a speaker. That's about it. It operates very mechanically with the diesel gas engine. But when you get like a software involved, an AI involved, where it can change the way the electric car are operate, I wonder how much that opens up your car, your vehicle to like a cyber attack or like a potentially a faulty software issue. And that's why I always scoff at the idea of having smart in front of everything, like smart fridge, smart toaster, smart watch, smart speaker. What? Not everything has to be smart. Like, yeah, for them. And again, I'm not like a car person, so I don't have a personal investment.
The same way the Veen phone went, right? They tried to make a phone too, and I don't know if they're still doing that.
Oh, it is that.
It's dead. Yeah. So it seems like V Group has engaged. I mean, obviously, like no business. You're gonna have failures, right? But it seems like they go on these very big ventures, phones, cars, airplanes, things like that, that are very capital intensive to start and then don't really take off. Um, maybe they should go back to instant noodles. I don't know. Like, there's, it's hard to say in terms of, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think I'm not a big car person. I am kind of rooting for them in a way to fail because I really dislike being stuck behind one dude in his sedan who drives like shit and he's chatting on the phone at the same time. Um,
Oh.
yeah, it's I can't imagine there's another reason besides the prestige factor to try to make cars. When in reality, I mean, I completely disagree with you. I think uh, generations of parents were able to raise children with just a motorbike or a bicycle. I think it's 100% possible. Obviously, not ideal, but is it really ideal to take 45 minutes to go 4 kilometers? Which is, which will only get worse if you restrict motor vehicles and increase the number of cars. There's simply not enough space for people to go places, and you end up. I mean, I almost sardonically want to say, like, the best policy for Vietnam would be to bulldoze every single pagoda, every single park, every single government building, and turn it into a parking lot. Because that seems to be what people desire, or at least what some people desire is this kind of mad rush towards cars. And I think in a lot of ways, Vietnam is always stuck about 20 to 30 years in the past. So right now is kind of like the mid 90s for Vietnam, where people are like, oh, SUVs, in the United States, like the Ford Explorer was really big in the mid 90s, this large SUV, very similar to a Land Rover in Vietnam. But if you look at the current trends in many places around the world, it's restricting cars. It's getting rid of streets and replacing with pedestrian areas. So I hope. Well, I mean, I'm sure this will happen, but what I see is Vietnam in this mad rush to expand streets and expand space for cars, which in all likelihood will be reversed in 30 or 40 years when people realize, hey, maybe it's not a good idea to just have a constant traffic jam. Our whole city is one big traffic jam, 18 hours a day. Maybe it is better to restrict the number of vehicles to encourage alternative modes of transportation, whether it's cycling or walking, if they can ever figure out the train system here or that. But I there's plenty of cities that have tried to implement the car only model in Southeast Asia, and it fails every time. Like, it's like you can go to Jakarta, you can go to Yangon in Myanmar, and these are cities which have banned motorbikes, and it's just fucking lines of cars everywhere, and it sucks. These are not nice places to live. They're not. I mean, unless you like that sort of lifestyle where you're just indoors all the time. Um, some people are into that, but I think it makes a place less attractive, uh, both to live and to visit.
But to be fair, I think the government is already imposing laws that make it a lot more difficult to acquire a car. So, for example, like import tax on car is like insanely high. It's like 300% or something like that. But even like the domestically made car are still in the bracket where it's not affordable for the vast majority of the population anyway. So it's still not at a level where it's uncontrollable. But I can see your argument there. So why I don't want more car on the street. It's not going to improve the quality of life here. So the long-term goal, if we want to improve the weather, the living condition, and all that, is to have good public transportation, which is not going to happen anytime soon. So a successful car company is sort of like, maybe it's not too much to say that it's 20 years in the past to try to make like a car friendly city happen. Maybe it's that might be not entirely incorrect there. So yeah, I think I'm not like crazy about the vision of every one in Saigon has a car and running on the street. That's probably not a good idea. Uh, Economically speaking, I still wish this company succeed, even though it might not be the best thing for the quality of life or for the vibe of the city or anything like that. So
Right. So yeah, I guess at the end of the day, I'm always pro Vietnamese, and to have the biggest conglomerate, I believe they are the biggest, put a lot of capital and time and investment into this. I want them to do the best. Made in Vietnam is actually a very strong brand now in the States. everything's made in Vietnam. You go to Costco, it's not made in China. It's not
Right
PRC.
after China. Right after China, it's gonna be made in Vietnam. Yeah, I think made in Vietnam.
I mean, like in terms of just branding, you know, made in Vietnam has a better name recognition. But just to close up this point, it's like I'm pro Vietnamese. I hope that they do well. You know, I wish that they would just be open minded to criticism that are constructive. You know, we're saying, hey, make the cars better, and you'll sell more cars. I think that's fair. You know, instead of just like saying it's bad without saying why.
That's the number one thing that they're not doing right. They take criticism so badly,
Right.
meaning
So
they don't
yeah,
take it well, they lash back and all that. So
absolutely, absolutely. But anyway, speaking of investment, we'll go into the last little fun bit about family investment.
oh, by the way, before we start with this one, do you remember what I said to you last week about the live section in Vietnamese newspaper? Only talk about family drama.
Right. So this
Case
is
in point.
right. So this is
Case
another
in point.
yeah. This is the last thing on the docket. Family member squabbling because this woman, I believe, she invested in her brother or her sister's land, but she thought she would make a profit because it was a better return than the 5 or 6% that you get at the bank. And she felt jibbed because her brother-in-law and sister sold without giving her consent. I have a lot of opinion on this, but Nick, do you wanna go first?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many directions to go with this. I mean,
Yeah, so many
Vegan Express is notorious for like plausible, maybe not true drama stories. This case in point, I mean, investing in land is always kind of weird anyways, because it's like the notion that the price of land will continuously go up forever is very scary on one hand, because eventually you're going to get to a point where nobody can afford it. So this notion that you're going to invest in land is just always going to go up, it's going to be this great investment, is a very kind of insane idea. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what this woman wants, quite honestly. Like, she wanted her sister-in-law not to sell the land and not to make the profit, I'm guessing. Just to hold.
for clarity, again, like she thought that the return from the investment in the land would be much larger than what she would get putting in a slow moving account like a 5 or 6% savings account. And
But
when they sold the land, she wanted 6% instead of what they got, which is under that.
okay, but she still made a profit, so it wasn't like she lost money. And I'm assuming like the profit probably kept pace with inflation. So it seems to me like there was no harm, no foul in this situation. It was just miscommunication about the goal of the investment, about like the potential for realizing a profit. And I mean, honestly, like, sounds like it could have gone a lot worse, right? Like, if you invest 200,000, what if your 200,000 just disappears, right? Like, I mean, an investment can go away. So it sounds like this situation could have gone a lot worse. Doesn't sound too bad. She made $13,000 profit. Over about 6%, something like that.
Oh, we were just talking about the lady family drama issue, but I think you two are misunderstood the point of the article a little bit. She was not complaining about the return of the investment at all. That was not the point of complaint. The point of complaint is the lack of trust now that she is now feeling toward her sister.
Yeah, that's
because she sold their joy investment without informing her sister. The lack of communication is a problem. And by the way, this lady is not asking for advice. She already had a solution, and she already did the solution. She's
Right.
only asking for people to agree with her. That was
She's
the
only
question at the
asking
end.
for validation of her feelings.
Absolutely.
Okay, that sounds like a womanly
Am I
thing.
being too harsh with my sister and brother-in-law? She already did what she needed to do. She was only asking for a condonement, which I do. I think it's not too hard. It's perfectly fair to do so. And I think many foreigner will read this, talking about you, Nick, will have the reaction of, I wonder if story is true, or just make shit up and put on the news just for entertainment. And I tell you, this story does not sound crazy enough to be fake at all. It sounds like it completely did happen. And see, Sean agree with me. And if you are from a Vietnamese family that involves 3 or more generation that has about 7 or 8 siblings on each side, you are approaching 95% chance of this happened once or twice during your childhood. So this definitely happens a lot in Vietnam in large family, especially during the 80s and 90s, where there's a lot of like paperwork dispute and all that.
Right.
So this one is all too familiar. And again, I'm assuming they're not like super old. They're probably born in the late 80s or early 90s. They're not like old people or not old generation. And the thing is, in Vietnam, people do this shit a lot, which sounds crazy to foreigner, but they do it a lot, where they trust family members enough so that they don't do any notoriety, any contract, any bond, anything like that. They handshake and they just hand a large sum of money to their relative, trusting them to do the right thing. And one day they don't, they complain about it. It's just like the word of mouth, like your word is your bond, that kind of thing, right? And most of the time it is, but when it is when it doesn't work, it really doesn't work. So this lady followed the footsteps of their ancestor. All right, I'm handing you $12,000 as a joint investment without any paperwork to prove it. And to be fair, I mean, they did return the money eventually without any contract required, but they did not inform her sister about the fact that they sold the land. So that's the only shitty part about the situation. But you will, if you grow up in the late 80s or early 90s and you have like 5 uncle and 11 aunts from both sides of the family, you will notice this happens a lot. Oh, but I said that. Oh no, you said this. Oh no, you do this without my approval. Family drama is very robust. And at this point, like the lady said at the end of the article, the relationship at this point is going to be beyond repair. It's gone. The trust is gone. And the trust is something that you don't have a second chance at. You blew it once, it's gone forever. And so if you're listening, lady, you're not being too hard with your sister. It's done. I'm glad she got her money back. It could have gotten a lot worse. She could have lost some money, but she didn't lose anything. She got it back. And by the way, prop to her as well. She insisted that I do not want the profit from the land sale anymore. I just want it to be transactional, basic, strictly business. Just give me back the standard interest rate that the bank would give as an interest. I don't care about the profit that you make with the land. Meaning she completely disregard it as an investment. She just treated it as I give you a loan and now I want it back with interest. That's all. That's how cold she is. Very professional and very decisive with the tie severer thing. So I guess Sean still have his American aspect with this kind of thing as well. So I wonder, this is for both of you. Do you think this thing happens a lot in America?
Go ahead, Nick.
Probably not. I mean, but my thought is like if I gave that money to a hedge fund manager, I wouldn't expect to know what the hedge fund manager is doing with my money. I would just expect my money back. So it's similar in this situation. I wonder, why does she care what the sister did with the money as long as she got the money back?
No,
like,
because when the sister gave the money to her sister, they explicitly said that, all right, I'm giving you this money to jointly buy a plot of land to hopefully settle later and make a bunch of money together. That was the explicit idea, intention, right? But then one of the sister sold that land without telling one of the other sister who chipped in to begin with. That is a dick move.
okay.
It's a lack
I
of
guess I
trust.
can see that.
Yeah.
I mean, it just seems to me like if you give somebody money to invest, it's their job to invest it and worry about the investment aspect of it. versus you micromanaging what they're doing with your money. I don't know. It seems like this lady's a little bit controlling. Like, if that's kind of my vibe from it. And the fact that she's like writing a newspaper in order to get strangers to validate her feelings or to feel like she's validating, it just strikes me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I could see how it could lead to like bad blood. Like if you're like, hey, we're gonna invest in this land, and you say, okay, here's the money, and then they sell it and they don't tell you. That does sound very shady, because it sounds like she found out about it and then she had to go to her sister and be like, yo, where's my money? Yeah, that would be kind of shady. Um, Definitely. It sounds like a bad situation. But at the same time, it's like, you give somebody money to invest. First of all, there's no guarantee for an investment. Um, Secondly, like, you kind of expect them to do the work and to put the thought into what's going on with this money so that you don't have to. And that's the point of giving somebody money to invest, is assuming that they'll take the time and the effort to research and find out what's going on with your money, make sure it's growing as fast as it can so you can focus on other things. But it sounds like this lady wants to be involved with everything, which would drive me personally crazy if I was her sister. What do you think, Sean?
Right. So just go into the details a little bit about it. She invested 300 million. The land got 13 million in net profit, which comes out to be about 4%. So in actuality, I think the couple who sold the land gave her more. I think they might have taken a loss then. But that's just the numbers point. The woman who complained got more. I think if she got 6%, she got more than what the land I'll put it in the returns on the investment. But that's beside the point. I think if the woman really was so torn about this, they need to put this on paper. You know, like if she wanted to be in the decision making, like you were saying, like if I give my money to a hedge fund or something, or 401k, I'm supposed to leave it there and whatever returns come back, if any, if the stock market goes down or the investment kind of falls out, then like you can't expect a return on anything. But yeah, like what Huey was saying, this is more like a personal issue. Um, I'll tell you like a short story. I have this kind of issue with my family as well. You know, um, my uncles and aunts and my parents, case in point, they funded this whole investment in the house, and it was given to another uncle. And because my parents and all my auntie and uncle that put in the money living overseas, the only uncle here that would do the paperwork, he had his name on the deed, right? And so the people who actually funded the full investment wanted to make a decision on the house, but the person who's holding the deed, who has his name on the deed, refuses. So it's kind of like similar to this article. And at the end of the day, I was like, my thing was like, you gotta have leverage. There's a saying, Ronald Reagan, trust but verify, and the only leverage you have is just, at least from my personal family issues, just like, okay, they could just yell at him, and then what, So
Yeah, there's no love.
yeah, there's no recourse for this, and so yeah, that's why in America we have a saying, personal, business is business, and there's pros and cons to that. Vietnam is very relationship based. Even in business, no one goes into business because of a piece of paper. Everyone does it because they know the person. And so in this situation with this woman on the article, I think she's a little bit out of line to say like, 300 million. I don't know the whole extent of the investment, but I'm thinking it's a small percentage, one. and secondly, she didn't do her due diligence in making sure the contract was binding, and so yeah, I understand both sides, but at the end of the day, you got to make sure all your T's are crossed and all your I's are dots. Huey, go ahead.
Yeah, I already said before that the couple's decision to not tell the sister is still kind of a dick move, but too wrong don't make it right. I don't know how the complainer how she's like in person or anything like that without knowing any context. The fact that she air her laundry out in the public is not a good sign. And then too wrong don't make it right. But it could have been handled better. Is it worth losing a family member over this small incident? And just to be clear, I don't think the couple were having any ill intent to begin with, because the fact the moment they hear about the complainer that she was unhappy about it, she immediately offered to return to pay them back with all the interest, all the profit, and all that. So I don't think they necessarily has any ill intent. Maybe just a bad communication. That's probably all there is. And the fact that it ends up on the news, airing out for everybody to see, is like a kind of a bad taste and then people smell. And this, if it's on here, it's beyond repair. No matter whose fault it is, it doesn't even matter now. But you point out like a cultural aspect of the way that people do business here. Yeah, it's absolutely correct that it's more relationship based than it is like contractual based. And people say things like, okay, if they want to fuck you over, they can do it no matter you have a contract or not, which is true. But it's not the point of a contract. A contract is make it harder for people to fuck you over. And when you mix personal with business, these kind of things can happen. I do see the benefit of doing business with people that you know really well, because you know them really well and you grow up with them. Let's say it's a two brother, two sister, for example. So you know them really well. You rather trust them than trusting a random stranger that you know last year, right? But if you maybe think you're close with them, but you don't know them as well as you think you do, and then this kind of thing can happen, and then you lose money and a friend and a family member. Personally, I don't hate that cultural aspect of Vietnam. Honestly, I honestly really like it that people would do something like a relationship, like a handshake based agreement, and then honor it at the end and without needing a contract. I think it's still like the ultimate goal of human interaction, right? You need to get to a point where you don't need a contract to do the business. Sometimes it fails, yeah, sure, but so okay. Yeah, but just to protect yourself, a smart man just said 5 minutes ago that you trust but verify. Anyway, it doesn't hurt to have a deed, doesn't hurt to go to the notoriety to have it, stamp down. So would do that next time you try to get something like this done. And the economy is tanking hard these days. People are getting extra desperate as well. So it can really make people do crazy things. So don't get to the situation that this lady is into. And if you do get into a situation, don't air your laundry dry in the public like that. It's embarrassing. Don't do that. But yeah, the story. By the way, Nick, the story Sean just told you, he's told me in detail, like I think a few months ago. It's rough. Yeah, imagine how it's rough.
All right, so Nick, final thoughts.
I mean, I think it's good to keep business in the family, keep money close. But it sounds like they've kind of in that situation that's no longer possible. Good luck to him. Yeah, that's all my thoughts.
Yeah, like
Go
ahead.
Just to mention really quick, like if you keep money in the family and you do it really well, it can end up really well. Like I think I believe that was the operational model of the Rothschilds. Like in the beginning when they were starting out, they strictly keep that shit in the family. They marry their cousin, not to keep the wealth within the Rothschild family. So they really want to make sure that it stays in the family and they protect each other at all costs and they stick together and they're still one of the most powerful family of all time.
Yeah. Right. Okay, cool. Well, at the end of the day, she got her money back, the economy's back, so she should be grateful, At least she's not like, an amputee on a shrimping boat, be happy with that.
Not forcing to go out on the sea to make a living. Yeah.
Right. Just go fishing one time, see how easy that is or not. All right. Okay, well, I guess we'll wrap it up here. Thanks for watching, everyone.